Hi everyone, it's Kute here from LA. You know, just because what you're doing is working doesn't mean it's really working. Perhaps you're doing a job and you've done it for 25 years or 10 years. Perhaps you're in a relationship. Perhaps you live in a certain way, make money a certain way, have the same routine in your life, and it works. Doesn't mean it's truly working. Working as in truly bringing you joy, truly bringing you soul fulfillment, truly giving you a sense of real, authentic aliveness. So often we do things and we get caught up in relationships, a job, a way of being, a way of functioning, a way of being who we think we are, and we get comfortable doing a routine, a groove, a set pattern, a set rhythm over and over and over and over and over again. And some of us, can be dangerous sometimes, even often get reinforced and receive great accolades and validation and success for doing things a certain way. And we built a certain identity about who we think we are doing a certain thing a certain way. Just because what you're doing works doesn't mean it's working. And it's natural when you're on a path of growth, when you're on a path of self-discovery, self-development, spirituality, when you're on a path, a spiritual path, it's natural that you will grow and evolve and ultimately outgrow who you've been, outgrow your job, outgrow certain relationships, outgrow the circumstance around you, unless what's around you, the friends, the places, the things, the situations, the job, unless those things also naturally evolve and grow at the same rate as you. So if you're finding yourself reaching a point of lack of fulfillment, if you're finding yourself reaching a point of dissatisfaction, we often think that something's wrong when we hit a point of dissatisfaction. I like to say that when you hit a point of dissatisfaction, this is a very profound place, and many of us often try and suppress it, deny it, forget about it, distract ourselves from feeling the dissatisfaction because we're afraid of, oh my God, if I really let myself feel this dissatisfaction, this sense of I'm not really fulfilled in this job, in this relationship, in this friendship, in this circumstance, then what do I do? It can be a little scary. The possibility of letting go of what we know so that we can evolve and continue to grow and flow and dive into a new realm of the unknown can be scary. So what we often do in that moment, we have a deep knowing. I believe that each and every one of you, each and every one of us, you know. If you become still and you put the fears aside and you put the mind aside, there is a deep knowing inside of your being that knows what it is that you need to be doing right now. There's a deep knowing inside of you that knows the next step that you need to be taking right now. There's a deep knowing inside of you that knows the truth about your current relationship, your current job, your current circumstance, that perhaps you need to end it, that perhaps you need to restructure it, that perhaps you need to quit the job that you hate, that's not fulfilling your soul. You know there comes a point in life where who you become and who you've evolved into now is too big for the structure of your current situation. The question is, what you do in that moment will define your life. What many of us do is, because we're afraid, because we're scared, we often suppress this deep knowing inside. We push it down and we create confusion and we create distraction and we tell ourselves, I don't know. Have you ever done that? I don't know what to do. I'm not sure what to do. And we start asking opinions of all these other people that are even more clueless about their lives, let alone our lives, and we get even more confused, which is a perfect sneaky tactic to stay confused and not make any decisions. Have you ever done that? In the confused not knowing, there is a part of you that knows. The first step is to really acknowledge the truth, acknowledge what you truly want, acknowledge the knowing in your soul and in your heart. See, I remember when I was a young boy, I grew up in the church. My father is a healer and a minister. And as a young kid, I grew up seeing blind people see and deaf people hear and people stand up out of wheelchairs. And one of my first memories as a young boy was literally seeing a crippled, I remember being around age 5, age 6, seeing a crippled woman walking on the sand in Ghana, West Africa. And she picked up the sand that this man walked on. Literally, I saw it with my own eyes. And she wiped it on her face and stood up and she was healed. So I grew up in a certain environment, and from a very young age I started speaking in front of my father's audiences, in front of thousands of people. At age 14, I was ordained as a minister in my father's churches, given the mandate. And you know, he has about 250 churches, hundreds of thousands of followers and members of his congregation. And I was given the mandate to take over the churches at a very young age, and it was announced, and it was a big deal at that time. And cut a long story short, when I was 17, when I was 18 years old, in that zone, I felt a different calling in my heart. I knew that my path, my destiny, was not to impact people necessarily through the structure of some religion or organization or church structure, but in a new paradigm, in a new form, in a new way to reach a new generation with a new expression. So I had a deep knowing at that point in my life that I needed to leave the church. You know, I became a minister at 14, I retired and left at 18. It was a short-lived career. But the same essence, the same desire to impact and serve and love and spread a message of positivity and inspiration and empowerment is still there even now in the form of what I do. But I knew in that moment, and we all have those moments of knowing, where we know the path we must take. And we're faced with a decision. And I knew if I went against the knowing of my soul, that I was choosing death. I was choosing to be part of the living dead in that moment. And I had deep fears as a young boy. My fear was, wow, if I leave the church, if I leave my father's ministry, if I renounce this position, and everyone around me at that time couldn't believe the decision I was making. Everyone around me thought I was crazy. I knew in that moment, if I renounced this position, that perhaps I was losing the relationship with my father, that perhaps we would never speak again. What is it for you to leave what you know, to leave the comfort zone? What is it for you that you know you have outgrown in your life at this time? If you were to be brutally, radically honest, is it your relationship? Is it your job? Is it a certain pattern, a certain addiction, a certain way of being that you need to give up so you can evolve into a higher expression of who you are? Is it certain friends? Is it certain families? Is it community? What is it for you that you know, if you're honest, that is stopping you from that next level, that fullest expression? As a young boy, I was afraid, but I knew I had to make that decision. I knew I had to follow my soul. I knew I had to let go of what I had so I could receive and make room and invite something more than I could even imagine with my mind into my life. Cut a long story short, I left my father's ministry. Cut a long story short, miracles occurred and I won a green card in a lottery. Cut a long story short, here I am 14, 13 years, 15 years later, living my dharma, living my gift, living my expression. It's been a long road, it's been a long journey. It hasn't been easy, but when I look back over the years, I'm glad, I'm inspired, I'm happy that I took the path of my knowing, that I took the path of my soul. And even when it was challenging, even when it wasn't easy, even when there were moments in the beginning when I wanted to give up, there was something inside that had a sense of peace. Because when you follow your truth, when you follow your inner knowing without compromise, you will be guided with a sense of peace, knowing you did not compromise your essence, you did not compromise yourself, and you will be lifted up by the angels, you'll be lifted up by the universe, placed in the right spot for you, placed in the right space, placed and filled with grace in your life. What have you outgrown? What's that next level for you that you know it's time for? Are you ready to leap? Are you ready to leap? You don't have to know what's on the other side to take the next step. So today, I invite you to take that leap. There's no refunds in life. When life is done, you can't go to the great one and say, great one, universe, can you give me a few more years? This is it, this moment, this is your life. You are only you as you this one time. Leap and your wings will appear. You know what to do.